Hey guys, what's going on? Sincere here with whoissincere.com. I want to bring to you a brief story today. I'm going to make this actually quick. It's actually really long, but I'm going to try to do it as fast as possible. This story today is about Tupac Shakur. Now, we all, if you've been on YouTube for a while and you like Tupac, I'm sure you've researched and heard all of the claims that are out there. Is he alive? Is he dead? All this and that. We're not going to really get into any of that today. There's plenty of stuff on YouTube already about that. So if you're looking for that, this might not be the video for you. What we're going to get into today is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go based off of the New York Times. Now, the New York Times is special in the fact that they've uploaded all of their articles from the past. So you can literally research somebody that's, like anybody you could think of, like Donald Trump, for instance, and see what the New York Times had to say about him back in 1990 or something like that. So in this case today, we're doing Tupac. Now, this is the very first article where Tupac's name appeared in the New York Times. And it was by Janet Maslin. She's a film critic and also a book critic. She currently still works for the New York Times. She's a book critic now. And she, reviewed the film Juice that Tupac was in. This had amazing reviews. She did really good, balanced review. I guess I can call it that. The next one was another, review done by Janet Jackson, and I mean not Janet Jackson. I'm sorry, by Janet Maslin. And this was another, great review where she was pretty much just very level, and then that's the way that she gives a lot of her reviews. I read a few of her reviews now, but she gives really good reviews. So both of these reviews were very good reviews. Now, the third article of any significance with Tupac mentioned in it was one from the 1992 campaign with Dan Quayle, the Vice President Dan Quayle at the time. And just reading to you the first sentence. Vice President Dan Quayle has set his family value sights on what he sees as a new demon in the entertainment world. Okay? So the new demon in the entertainment world is Tupac Shakur. He was looked at as a demon. Okay? So, for, the lack of better terms, this is how the demonization of Tupac actually began. This was the first slanted big article in New York Times against Tupac Shakur. Prior to that, there was good film reviews for the films that he was into, and this was in 1992. Afterwards, there was another film review done by Vincent Canby at the New York Times, and this was for Poetic Justice on the Road to Redemption. Now, this showed a different side of Pac. This was also, it gave, great reviews. I'm going to leave links for all of these articles down below. All right. Now, we get to this article. Now, this article is huge. Rapper charged in shootings of off-duty police officers. This happened in Atlanta. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. This happened in Atlanta. Tupac and another car of people were actually coming up to an intersection. Now, what happened at the intersection is, a matter of whose side of the story you're going to believe. But as far as Tupac's brother is concerned, I believe his name is Mopreme. They pulled up to the intersection, and the two off-duty officers with their wives were harassing a black man, for no reason. So Tupac gets out and he says, what's going on? What's the problem? They make him get back in his car. Once he gets back in his car, they smash his glass out of his car. So he gets back out of the car, and they smash the glass out of his car with the guns that they had. Once he gets out of the car, he shoots both of them. Now, he was charged for that shooting, but later the charges were dropped. And they were dropped because the police officers were completely in the wrong. The guns that they had on them that night were not issued by the department, and they were not legal guns that they actually had. They were from the evidence room of their respective police departments. So he got into an altercation or an engagement with two off-duty police officers, shot both of them, and he pretty much walked scot-free because they were in the wrong. Now, if you give somebody as outspoken as Tupac the opportunity to say that out loud and the opportunity to get behind a movement, to say, hey, listen, we can stand up for ourselves. We can defend our rights. We don't have to be beat down and brutalized and subjected to all kinds of police violence just because we're scared. We can do better than that. So Tupac did better than that. He's the only rapper that has ever shot two off-duty police officers, white guys at that, and gotten away from it. Okay? So, that's a story that's not told by the media. It's a story that's never mentioned. And if you go on YouTube, not a lot of people like to talk about it. There's so many other things. Is he dead? Is he alive? What did he mean in his music? Is he coming back? Just a whole bunch of theories and stuff like that. So, like I said, we're not going to get into that, but I think that this is very, very pivotal in the fact of why Tupac Shakur is actually dead, the real reason that he's really dead. Okay? So you have possibly at that time the most powerful black man in the United States of America with a global reach that shoots two police officers. Very big story. So let's go after that. So, on December 26th of the same year, they went ahead and did a year-end review with, Tupac Shakur and what his big things were for that year. So it says, rapping too close to reality. Snoop Doggy Dogg was under indictment on murder charges when his debut album went #1 in the Billboard album chart this week, and it was released. The rapper and actor Tupac Shakur, who moved from digital underground to gangsta rap, was charged in the shooting of two off-duty police officers in Atlanta and sexually assaulting a woman in Manhattan. Okay, so that was Tupac's year in review. All right, and we know, obviously, that he had, more things in his year of review than just those couple bad things right there. Now, let's go to, let me see if I can find it up here. Let me see. Okay, let me actually go over this real quick. I'm actually going to read this part to you real fast. This is what I thought was very interesting with how they wrote the article, and wrote this article, and how they actually write all their articles. And this is a marketing technique I'm about to explain to you. What you do to drive home a point about a person is, if I write an article, I'm going to write something right after that article that's going to correlate somewhat to that article, but drive home the point of what I was trying to say in the first article. Okay? And that's what newspapers, it's a very popular technique. Newspapers do that. Online does that. Actually, algorithms through advertising are made up through that. It's a chain. What it does is it chains together a thought process. So, up here, this is something dealing with terrorism or something like that around that time. So, guys, if you guys that are into this, here we have an Islamist terrorist suspect here, and this was back during that time. And somebody that was actually going to represent him, and he resigned from the case because he was under investigation after he decided to represent this guy. But that's another story. So we go to page 25. It says, rapper is charged in sexual attack. The rap performer Tupac Shakur was charged in Atlanta last month in shooting of two police officers. Was charged with taking part in a sexual attack in Manhattan hotel, the police said. And then right after that story, also on page 25, man convicted in killing of officer. A 25-year-old Queens man was convicted of murdering an off-duty police officer whose body was found in a marshy lot in Rosedale, Queens, near Kennedy International Airport. So directly after that, we get something from the, we get that correlation effect that happens. Now, your mind, what that does to your mind is you automatically say, hey, that guy Tupac is just like that guy right after here. Okay? So even though Tupac shot the two officers and he was acquitted of those charges, right after here you go into a 25-year-old Queens man was convicted of murdering an off-duty police officer. Okay? So it gets you in that mindset of guilty. You will put the guilty verdict on him because you're powerless to know what's being done to you as far as marketing is concerned because it's done so slickly. It's very sly. Okay? Let me try to actually find... Okay, here we go. Alright. Now this is the actual sex abuse case that was mentioned before. After the gunshots happened and Tupac was put into pretty much a position where he's at the top of the charts, he's at the top of his career, everything is going good in his world as far as money wise, as far as fame and his social status and his celebrity. Was he an angel? No. Was he a good guy? Yes, he was a good guy. Was he misunderstood? Yes, he was misunderstood. And the media didn't help that at all. They didn't try to say, well, hey, come to us and explain to us what you're saying. No, instead they put the tag on him and said, hey, this is a gangster rapper. He's all about being a gangster, and that's all that this is really all about. When nothing can be further from the truth, okay? So he shoots two off-duty police officers, and shortly after shooting those two off-duty police officers, he was brought up on weapons charges, and then on top of that, he was mixed up in a sex abuse case. Now, the sex abuse case, the reason I'm actually bringing this up is because I want to show you, the irony of this. Let's read the first paragraph. Tupac Shakur, the rap star, was convicted yesterday of felony sex abuse charges from groping a fan who went to his bedroom at the Parker Meridian Hotel last year. But he was acquitted of the more serious charges of forcing the woman to have oral sex with him and his friends and of weapons charges. Now, I'm not going to read this whole article, but I'll make sure that I leave a link down here so that you guys can read all of these articles. And what I found very interesting about this article was the fact that, the jury that made up this panel here, the jury panel. The jurors they numbered 9 women and I believe 3 males. Okay? Now, that says a lot. If 9 women are sitting in a jury and and they acquit you of a rape charge, all right? 9 women acquit you of a rape charge. And he got 1 charge, and that was for the groping. Don't ask me how in the world you invite a stripper and some of her friends, a stripper that you've already had relations with, and some of her friends to the hotel room to do the same thing that you've already been doing with her, to have relations. You don't get charged with those relations, but you get charged with grabbing her butt. I'll let you think about that a little bit. I don't know if anybody else in the history of getting charged for sexual charges that has pretty much beat a rape charge but got charged with groping a butt. That's like saying that the sex was consensual, but during that consensual sex that you had, you grabbed the ass aggressively. Does it make sense? Can it happen? Yeah, of course it can happen. What if, the woman was saying, hey, I don't want to have sex anymore, right in the middle of having sex? Then maybe he grabbed her butt, and then that's assault or that's wrong, I guess you would say. Is that how it likely happened? No. Not at all. Not at all. In the whole history of having sex, that's a very unlikely thing. When somebody gets involved in a sexual activity with somebody, they normally tend to see that sexual activity out until the end. And in this case, that is precisely what happened. This lady, saw the sexual activity out to the end, left, and then made, a complaint. So, the story is, of course, not properly told here by the New York Times. They skew it as they normally do. Now, moving on from this story right here. So now he has the weapons charges, he has the sex charges, and he also has the charged with shooting the police officers. Let's see here. I'm going to try to show you guys how it actually all ended up in the end. It's an inquiry. Okay. So let's fast forward it a little bit. You got somebody that, like I just got done saying, he has the weapons charges, he has the shooting the police officer charges, and he has the rape charges. Now, the way that the New York Times paints this out, as if he actually raped somebody. It didn't matter that he was acquitted of the rape charges. That doesn't matter at all. What really mattered was the fact that they wanted to just say that he had the rape charges. Just the ability to be able to say that somebody was charged with rape. Just that ability, that one simple ability to be able to say that someone was charged with rape will ruin a career. It will ruin anyone's career. Any prominent person that's out there will always have that stain if you were simply charged with it. Not actually convicted, just charged. Okay? So, let me actually look down here a little bit. Alright. So, once he actually, got shot here in September of '96, they actually immediately they did an article about him getting shot. Then when he died, a few days later, they did another article, about him getting shot. Now, this first article right here was, it was just written with a lot of the information, but it was still written kind of slanted in the way that, hey, this is kind of a guy that lived that lifestyle, and this is kind of what was coming to him. This is the last sentence of the article. Mr. Shakur, whose lyrics often deal with sex and violence, was on probation for a variety of offenses. He had been scheduled to be sentenced in Los Angeles on a weapons charge on Thursday. So let's talk about the weapons charge, since, that's the last sentence of the article to close it out. Okay? So that's the last thought that's on your mind. Do you understand how this marketing works? Do you understand how writing works? Nothing else was left to close this out besides this last sentence. Okay? The weapons charge. He was in the vehicle with another person. There was a gun in the car, and there was, I believe, some weed in the car. And him and that person actually went in for the gun and for the weed. Now, if we read a little bit about it, let's actually read the article. Rap singer arrested in a weapons inquiry. The rap singer Tupac Shakur was arrested on Friday for an investigation into a concealed weapons charge and was released on bail Saturday, the police said. It was the latest of several arrests for the performer. Officers arrested Mr. Shakur on Friday night after stopping his car for speeding on Hollywood Boulevard, said Lieutenant Tammy Tatro. She said the officers found marijuana and a loaded 9mm semi-automatic weapon in the car. The driver of the car, Maurice Harding, 26, was also arrested for the investigation, she said. Mr. Shakur was released on $1,000 bail, and Mr. Harding was transferred on Saturday to Parker Center for undisclosed medical problems. Mr. Shakur, 22, starred with Janet Jackson in last year's movie Poetic Justice. As a rapper, he released his debut album under the name Tupac last year and was nominated for Best New Rapper Hip-Hop Artist at this year's American Music Awards. He did not win. Okay, so, do you feel the tone at the end? How many people do they say that about? He did not win. That I'm telling you, articles breathe off of the last sentence. The last sentence of the article is the lingering effect. He did not win leaves a chilling effect on you when you understand what their agenda is. When you understand that they're not going to let you win. That's what they're saying. He did not win. Not going to let him win. They're not going to let him win. And it's not about letting people win. It's just saying that even it doesn't matter what he would have done. I don't care if he would have sold 1 billion copies. It doesn't matter. He would not have won. They control that. Okay? And I'm not saying New York Times controls it. I'm saying it's a cabal of people that sit at the top and controls the media and then who gives out these awards. Okay? So it's not like he was ever going to win it in the first place. But they're just closing it out rather chillingly and letting you know he did not win. Okay. So the way that this whole article is written is rap singer arrested for weapons inquiry. Let's read over this first part again one more time. The rap singer Tupac Shakur was arrested on Friday for an investigation into a concealed weapons charge and was released on bail on Saturday, the police said. If you just stop right there, okay, that would make you think that the weapon is his and that the weed is his, or at least the weapon. They don't mention the weed until later, but that the weapon is his. Okay? Later on in the article, okay, is when you find out the driver of the car. In the third paragraph is when you find out Tupac wasn't even driving the car. He wasn't even driving the car. Okay? Do you understand where this is going? So people may say, oh, well, you're nitpicking. No, I'm not nitpicking. I'm showing you systematically how this breaks down. Systematically how the media puts a person in a certain category and they will keep you there. Let's be reminded, all the reviews started out good. The mentions of Tupac were good. Until you got Vice President Dan Quayle, who hopped right in there and decided who his new demon was. Okay? From that point forward, there was maybe one more good review about a movie. Everything else in the New York Times about Tupac after that all had negative connotation to it. All of it. Okay? So that's what we're dealing with. Now, let's go back to the articles about when he actually died. Now, you know the article before, like I said, back to the closing sentences. So they close it out like that. All right? The article on the day that he did die, it was a lot more, I don't even know if I could say it for these people, but sensitive. It was a lot more informative. You see the length of the article. It closes out with a sentence that's not a leading sentence into making you feel any kind of way. Besides the way of what was really important, he is survived by his mother and half-sister who live in Decatur, Georgia, and half-brother Maurice Harding. Okay? So, right there alone, you understand what I'm saying? Right there alone, you can see, okay, well, on this article, the biggest article that they wrote about Tupac, because, Tupac's death was one of the biggest things of that time. It was huge. It was phenomenally huge. It was worldwide when Tupac was killed at 25. So this article was written very carefully. Okay? Very carefully. And in this article, let's go down and read. Mr. Shakur was a complex and sometimes contradictory figure with a career featuring million-selling albums, gunshot wounds, and run-ins with the police. He was an intelligent, vivid writer who had studied acting at the High School of Performing Arts in Baltimore. He was an accomplished rapper with a husky baritone and crisp enunciation. He was also a convicted sex offender, and the words "thug life" and outlaw were tattooed on his body. Okay. So, you get the sense of more of a sense of who he was. Are those negative connotations that, the media helped to portray and actually put him in this box, are they still there? Yes, they're still there. And yes, they're still written last to leave that taste in your mouth. But at the same time, they knew in this article they had to put more of his accomplishments actually in there. Tupac was an amazingly gifted and amazingly talented man. Amazingly gifted. I'm talking about on the lines of, if you think about Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, Fred Hampton, if you think about some of the activists from back in the day, okay? Think about them and think about what their platform was as far as the liberation of people. That's what Tupac was about. That's what he talked about. That's what Illuminati was about. The liberation of people from government control and grasp. They started to see beyond color. That this isn't all about color. That this is really goes a lot deeper. This really, it's a plan. This is really just all one big plan, and it's created by our elite. And that's what Tupac was trying to get people to see and to break people out of. Hey, listen, you can live the life that you want to live. You don't have to live the life that you're told to live. And yet they may put us in these thug environments, in these neighborhoods, and in these quote-unquote projects, something that we know was created by the government, projects, because that's exactly what it was, a project, to see how many people could live in little box-like situations stacked on top of each other. And they still live that way today. So Tupac saying you don't have to live in the projects. You don't have to grow up this way. You can be somebody else. You can be more. And then that person that's saying that you can be more, you can be intelligent, you can live outside of the circumstances that you've been placed in, that same person, that same man, shot 2 police officers and was acquitted of the charges. Now, when you have somebody that's telling you, that's trying to liberate a certain segment, a certain population of people, trying to liberate people, and he's telling you you can step above the government and live your own life, don't you think maybe it's just that it's more than coincidence that Tupac was murdered? It's not just a coincidence. It's not something that, oh, this is just what happened and we never found his killer. Listen, I'm going to tell you like this. Somebody kills a cop, shoots a cop, they're finding his killer. I don't care how much security footage they have to go through, they're going to find his killer. Same thing with Tupac. They know who killed Tupac because they killed Tupac. Okay? It doesn't even cost that much to kill people. It really doesn't. Matter of fact, the most that it'll cost is a promise. I'll take care of you. Take care of this for me. That's a promise. Somebody's now dead. Okay? That's how this works. That's how simple it is to kill people. Honestly. I'm just keeping it real with you. So, let's go to the next one, to the final article. Shots silence angry voice sharpened by the streets. Let's read it again. Shots silence angry voice sharpened by the streets. This article came out after Tupac's death, about a day or two after. Okay. Now, this article is an ignorant article, another ignorant article. So it goes into the bi-coastal rivalry, and anybody that knows the whole story of this knows that bi-coastal rivalry was set up. It was nothing more than a setup, an entertainment business setup. Okay, this was bigger than Pac and Biggie. The divisionary factor had to be placed into the rap culture at that time, because without division, listen closely, without division, those who perpetrate their acts of evil cannot win. And they knew that about Pac and Biggie. They understand, listen, we're dealing with people that have been dealing with dividing races, dividing nations, dividing people for a very, very long time. Okay? So if these people have been doing this for a very long time, Very long time. You don't think that they understood that the movement, the rap movement going on, and that the unity that was being gained through that movement, and literally the liberation and the eyes opening to the unjust evils of the world, you don't think that movement was somehow, some way infiltrated right away? Of course it was. Of course. Okay? So I'm not going to go also into this whole article either, but I'm just going to say this. This whole report was just to let you guys get a breakdown, from the time of 1993 into the time of it's from the time of 1992 into the time of 1996 into the article after his death. And within that 4-year span, that 4-year time period, all of the articles written about him after Dan Quayle said what he said were all negative. None of them ever went back to positive again, even though the man had more positive in him than a little bit. And this is how it always works, guys. In the present atmosphere, a person is demonized, they're criticized, and they're said, well, you can't talk that way, you can't act that way. Even if the environment is conducive to a person acting or talking that way, they're still told that they can't talk that way, that they can't act that way, because it doesn't make people comfortable. Okay? So, we have a situation where now Tupac is he's being viewed as somebody that he's not going with the status quo. He's not going with the Illuminati plan. Okay? There is a plan that's out there, and if you don't fit within that plan, if you don't follow suit and do as you're told or suggested for things for you to do, then they have a very rude awakening for you. You will die or you will be defamed. In many cases, it will be both. Okay? This is what happens. It's not that the actual actions of the person kill them. It's actually the accusations is what kills a person. The accusations is what kills the soul. The accusations is what will literally get you killed. And the media is very good at placing these accusations and not doing investigative work into the real story or getting the words from the mouth of the person who they're accusing. That's what you see happening, and that's what's still happening in America. So I just wanted to share that with you guys and get that information out there. Just coming at this information from a completely different angle than anybody else has come at it from, and I'm just going strictly off of the New York Times reporting of who Tupac Shakur was and still is to this day. And I don't agree with their reporting tactics or techniques, and I can honestly tell you, it's just much better when you get the words of a person. So I went and I found those words. I cannot play that video because of copyright restrictions. I can't play that video in this video, but I will leave a link below in the description section. You can listen to Tupac in his own words talk about in a deposition that he gave, under oath, talk about his involvement with the music industry. He never called it gangster rap. That was a label put on him by the media. Okay? He never referred to it as gangster rap. He always said that I started writing poetry when I was in high school, and it kind of turned into a beat, and I kind of thought it was cool when I heard other poets on the radio. That's the kind of talk that they don't want to reach the masses. Poetry is an art form. It's an art form that's respected by the elite. Okay? It's something that's appreciated by those who have more affluence. Okay? So when you have a young black man, highly educated young black man, telling people that what I'm doing is poetry, they can't take that. They can't say, wait. This is poetry. He is right. No, they can't do that. They have to immediately say, wait a second, he's stepping into our territory of the things that we're comfortable with, and if they call this poetry, we have to call it something else because we're not comfortable. And that's what they did. They deemed it as gangster rap. And gangster rap came directly out of the perception of the media and the constant drilling of with their attitude into the minds and the perceptions of the American public. That's what you're looking at, guys. This is not, I mean, this is marketing 101. This is not science building a rocket. It's nothing like that. This is very easy, and you go through the steps and you look over this information, you know, just one step at a time, and you can easily paint a picture and see how this thing progressed along. So guys, I can go on for 2 hours with at least another 15 websites, but I'm not going to go that long. I promised you to get as much of this information in, and just a quick synopsis of how I viewed the reporting at that time during Tupac's death. And I just say this, you know, it's no mystery to me whatsoever why Tupac died. It's not a mystery. It's impossible for it to be a mystery because of what he accomplished and what he did during that time frame. He was automatically marked for death. The moment that he was acquitted from shooting those 2 officers, he was a dead man walking. That very moment, he was a dead man walking. This is Sincere with whoissincere.com. If you haven't already done it, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. Also, guys, make sure you follow me at Anon Radio Live here on YouTube and on Facebook. We have some great shows that are going to be coming through Anon Radio Live, and we're building up right now, and we're about to unleash something big, guys. So I want you all to be a part of it. Make sure you follow me over there on that channel. I'm going to leave links below for all of these articles, and I'm also going to leave links so you can follow me on Anon Radio Live and on Who Is Sincere. Also, guys, if you really want to stay up to date with everything that's going on and you want to follow for more stories and more information like this, I've teamed up with an app creator called App Geyser. What I would like you to do is go to the description section below this video, click the link there, and download my app. If you download the app, you'll get an update whenever something new or really big is breaking. This is an app you can, open every day, and you can see, what I'm posting up. I post things from Dabu7 to Spiro to Alex Jones to Luke Radowski. Anybody that's doing something significant in terms of trying to open people's hearts and minds. Okay, so I post all of those things on my webpage. I don't just post my own reports, but I post all of those reports. So I would encourage you to download that app. Also in the app, you'll find a section there for Anon Radio. So you can get my website, Anon Radio, and my Twitter and YouTube account all in one app together at the same time. Download it. It's in the link below. And thanks again, guys. Hope you enjoyed this report. And as always, stay alert, stay alive.